want to talk a little bit about Pence, who's about to be inaugurated as vice president. This is a guy who not only is all connected with the Koch brothers, and you can go to the website, our website and others, there's lots of evidence to how significantly the Koch brothers have financed his entire political career, meaning he's allied himself with climate deniers and people that are pushing for a total free market, and essentially have owned a great deal, if not most, of Congress and state legislatures across the country. But it's more dangerous than that with Pence, because Pence says he wants to model his vice presidency on Dick Cheney. And that's a very important statement, because not only was Dick Cheney a super powerful vice president, in the sense that he was really running much of what normally the president would run, but Cheney is the guy who, first of all, circumvents the normal intelligence pathways pre-9/11, so that instead of intelligence agencies reporting up to Richard Clarke, who was the anti-terrorism czar, and thus all the agencies would coordinate pre-9/11 intelligence, of which there was a great deal. I mean, there must be as many as 10 very important examples, I won't go through them now, of intelligence which, if had followed up, would have, in all likelihood, prevented 9/11 from even happening. Cheney gets the intelligence agencies reporting to him and bypassing Richard Clarke. This is according to whistleblower Thomas Drake, and there's a great deal of other evidence. Cheney then does what with that information? Well, he does nothing with that information. There is no coordination of the intelligence agencies pre-9/11. And when one connects this to Cheney being a signator of the Project for New American Century documents that called for essentially the assertion of U.S. geopolitical power to reshape the world, specifically regime change in Iraq, then Syria, and then Iran. And in it, it says to get the American people on board for this, we need a new Pearl Harbor, and they get their new Pearl Harbor. So for Pence to say that he wants to model his presidency on Cheney, let's go another step. John Kiriakou, another whistleblower, says that in the lead up to the war on Iraq, every morning there was a call with all the heads of national security agencies, military leadership, and with Cheney preparing them all, almost a year ahead of the invasion of Iraq, for the invasion. And on it, according to Kiriakou, who's on the call as part of the CIA team, I shouldn't say it's the heads of all these agencies, it's the number 2 of all these agencies. But who's chairing this meeting every morning? Vice President Dick Cheney. Why is he even there? On these calls, all these people are representing their agencies, and the Pentagon are saying they're against the war in Iraq, that it's going to be an enormous strategic error, according to Kiriakou. Cheney says you're on board or you can resign. So this is the guy Pence says he wants to model his vice presidency after, and we know Pence has said the number 1 problem in the world right now is Iran.
All right, we're going to now switch over to the inauguration, where Vice President Mike Pence is getting sworn in.
Any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. God bless you. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, accompanied by the President's own United States Marine Band.
No, it's the Marine Band now. It's playing music.
All right, welcome back. So that was Vice President Mike Pence getting sworn in. Paul, what do we know about him?
Well, I think we'll have other guests a little later that can get into some of the details of Pence in Indiana. But what we do know about him is that he's part of a team in terms of foreign policy, which is very much focused. You look at their Flynn, who's the National Security Advisor, or the Secretary of Defense, and so on. They all have in their crosshairs Iran. They've all been on record in the past of wanting regime change in Iran. They've all been greatly critical of the deal Obama negotiated. Now, there was a lot of to-do made in the hearings, how Mattis, Defense Secretary, and some of the others, Pompeo at the CIA, said that they wouldn't rip up the Iran deal. And there was a lot made of how this was contradictory to what Trump had said in the campaign. And on the face of it it's contradictory. But I don't think in substance it's going to be. If you look at some of the things that are coming out of the Jerusalem Post, prior even to the election, and you see this in other areas in terms of the drumbeat on the far right, which is they're already accusing Iran of violating the nuclear agreement. Now, Pompeo had to, in his hearing, had to acknowledge, I think it was Senator Feinstein, had went through the fact that Iran is actually living up to the agreement, and she gave very concrete examples, and he had to acknowledge that's all true. What people that follow this fear, and you can hear the drumbeats, as I say, in various parts of the very militant right press, including Jerusalem Post, which is they're going to manufacture evidence. And the manufacturing of the evidence is going to be Iran is now violating the agreement. So for the sake of the hearings, they can look so reasonable. Oh, yes, we acknowledge that we can't get out of this deal even though we didn't like it and so on. But there's a whole track record during the whole negotiations of this deal of intelligence, supposed intelligence of an Iranian secret program, in fact, the American intelligence agencies have yet to revise their basic estimate that Iran was not building a bomb. In fact, during the Democratic primaries a few years ago, Biden said out and out, there is no bomb being built. If there was, we would know about it. The problem is these guys all talk as if there is a secret Iranian program, that Iran is violating the agreement. There's no evidence, excuse me, but they can manufacture that evidence.
Yeah, as they did in Iraq.
Exactly.
And but in terms of the Iran deal, it's not just the United States who's involved in holding Iran accountable and negotiating with Iran. It is a P5+1 agreement. So all of Europe would have to agree with the United States if there's any shifts being made.
Excuse me. I think that's why they didn't want to just pull out. I think they've kind of adjusted their position now, not just to look more reasonable in the hearings, but they would like to get these the P5 on board, all of them, if they can manufacture evidence that Iran has violated the agreement. So just to pull out of the agreement will make any possibility of any kind of international consortium alliance to enforce the what they call it, the snapback of the sanctions. What they want is the snapback of the sanctions. They want full sanctions back on Iran, and they want to weaken Iran regionally. And more importantly, I think, and some of them, I think, want to do the bombing. Okay, we can pick
All right,
this up.
so we're now going to cut back to the actual broadcast of the Trump inauguration.
Faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability,
To the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Did I get that one right, Cheney? Chief Justice Roberts, President Carter, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, fellow Americans, and people of the world, thank you. We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for many, many years to come. We will face challenges. We will confront hardships, but we will get the job done. Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves. These are just and reasonable demands of righteous people and a righteous public. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities, rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation, an education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of all knowledge, and the crime and the gangs and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own. And spent trillions and trillions of dollars overseas while America's infrastructure has fallen into disrepair and decay. We've made other countries rich while the wealth, strength, and confidence of our country has dissipated over the horizon. One by one, the factories shuttered and left our shores, with not even a thought about the millions and millions of American workers that were left behind. The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their homes and then redistributed all across the world. But that is the past, and now we are looking only to the future. We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries, making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. Protection will lead to great prosperity and strength. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. America will start winning again, winning like never before. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth. And we will bring back our dreams. We will build new roads and highways and bridges and airports and tunnels and railways all across our wonderful nation. We will get our people off of welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor. We will follow two simple rules: buy American and hire American. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world, but we do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their own interests first. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example. We will shine for everyone to follow. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other. When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. The Bible tells us how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement. And most importantly, we will be protected by God. Finally, we must think big and dream even bigger. In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving. We will no longer accept politicians who are all talk and no action, constantly complaining but never doing anything about it. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. Do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again. We stand at the birth of a new millennium, ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies, industries, and technologies of tomorrow. A new national pride will stir our souls, lift our sights, and heal our divisions. It's time to remember that old wisdom our soldiers will never forget, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. And whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words: you will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you. God bless America.
This time, I call on Rabbi Marvin Heyer, Reverend Franklin Graham, and Bishop Wayne T. Jackson to provide readings and the benediction.
Eternal God, bless President Donald J. Trump and America, our great nation. Guide us to remember the words of the psalmist: who may dwell on your holy mountain? One who does what is right and speaks the truth, who knows that when you eat the labor of your hands, you are praiseworthy, that he who sows in tears shall reap in joy, because the freedoms we enjoy are not granted in perpetuity, but must be reclaimed by each generation. As our ancestors have planted for us, so we must plant for others. While it is not for us to complete the task, neither are we free to desist from them.
Welcome back. As you witnessed, the 45th President of the United States have been sworn in. He's just given a speech, and all day and all morning this morning there's been demonstrations going on all over the gates. The entranceways to the inauguration has been blocked. There's been quite a bit of back and forth between security and the protesters all morning, but as the swearing in took place and as the speech was given by Donald Trump, things seem to have subsided a bit. I will make sure that you see some of those footage later on, but right now we're going to go to Paul J. To analyze President Donald Trump's speech that was just given on Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Hi. So let me just say again, I'm not a pirate. For people that didn't hear earlier, I have an eye condition. Now, I know it looks a little bizarre, but so it is.
So what are some of the highlights of his speech that you noted?
Well, it didn't have a lot in the speech. I mean, you try to analyze the speech, there's not a lot in it. But there's a few key points, I think, that are worth talking about. I think the new decree, which he talks about, which is America first, America first, America first, that suggests that under the Obama administration, the Bush administration, and every president in the history of the United States, that somehow it wasn't America first. It's always been America first. The difference here, particularly if you want to contrast the Trump administration with the Obama administration, but it's true even for Bush, a little less, but again with Clinton, is that America is the manager of global capitalism. America first means global capitalism has to work. If global capitalism is dysfunctional, then the American economy will suffer, even though it's by far the largest economy in the world. So you take the 07-08 crisis, you had the Federal Reserve Bank actually loaning money to European banks, even to some individual European companies. The bailout wasn't just an American bailout. It was in various places in the world, and they had to do it because if the banking system of Europe crashes, it's a disaster for the American banking system as well. So the role and responsibility of the United States in managing the global affairs is always done and always has been done on the principle of America first. They just dress it up to make it look like they're giving foreign aid, not because they want to pillage the resources of Africa. Of course, that's the reason they grease the way for American mining companies and so on, whether it's in Latin America or Africa. America first is always the underlying principle. The issue is will Trump pay attention to this role of managing global capitalism, or will he let things unravel? Who knows what he would have done in 07-08? Maybe he wouldn't have allowed the Fed, I know Fed's supposed to be independent, but still, to play this global role. And second of all, would they have allowed such stimulus to try to save this recession from getting worse? Certainly Obama did do some stimulus. There's another part of America first. If Trump can actually accomplish what he's talking about, bring jobs back, and buy American products. His big slogan was make it in America and buy American made. If you really do that, then what is going to happen to wages? Well, wages will go up because one of the guarantee of lower wages and stagnant wages in the United States has been globalization, the ability of corporations to farm stuff out, a significant number of unemployed people puts a pressure on wages. Well, we know that the real underlying principle of Donald Trump and his cabinet, and even more importantly, his billionaire backers and allies, whether it's Robert Mercer and daughter Rebecca, or the Koch brothers, or Sheldon Adelson, or others, their fundamental principle is profit. And they make no bones about it.
This is why I found the contradictions in his speech, when he said, and in fact, one of the biggest and main points he made at the very beginning of his speech, just after he congratulated President Obama and Michelle Obama and the transition and how gracious they've been and so on, he went right into saying that, Washington has been reaping the benefits of the wealth of the nation, and and this is going to be the first day where the people will benefit from the wealth of the nation. And he, spoke for 5-6 minutes on that particular issue, and I was very surprised because it's a blatant contradiction in terms of the people he's appointing, who's going to be the wealthiest cabinet in the history of the United States, and what he's saying in this speech.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. But this links to what I was saying. You can't have jobs coming back to the United States. You can't have buy American products. You can't have that and have profits at the rate they've been being generated. So where is his real allegiance? Is it to profit, or is it to what he's promising workers? I mean, it's clear from his history. His history is his allegiance is to his own profit, and now it's going to be to his allies' profit. So it's a completely unattainable goal because who he represents, they need lower wages, and you need to be able to offshore jobs to ensure that. What you raise is very important, because what he said is completely deceptive. It's not a little clique in Washington that have reaped the benefits. Yes, of course, some have. It's the billionaire class that has reaped the benefits. Wall Street, fossil fuels, Silicon Valley. I mean, go through the whole thing. Or Vegas casino man Sheldon Adelson. The idea that the government and people working in the government have been the ones reaping the wealth. It's total nonsense. You look at the growth of income after the crisis. 90% of the growth in income after 07-08 went to less than 1% of the population. Now, the people in Washington helped facilitate that happening. They passed laws that made it happen. The way the bailout took place by President Obama and his finance team facilitated all this. But Trump hides the role of the billionaires and tries to make everyone focus on cops. It's almost like just like a city like Baltimore, where focus on the police. No, don't focus on the people with wealth who the police are protecting.
I noticed that Sheldon Adelson was very comfortably positioned just directly behind Trump as he was being sworn in. You can actually see him sitting there. I found the contribution that Sheldon Adelson had made to the Trump campaign. I mean, obviously, he was buying a seat at the inauguration as well, and there's been some references to that.
He bought a $25 million seat. Adelson jumped in with money for Trump when Trump was really in trouble. And I don't know what Trump's views were, if they were so fully formed on Israel-Palestine before that $25 million hit. But boy, were they ever in line with Sheldon Adelson once he got the money. Adelson also contributed a whack of money to the inauguration itself, but he's one of the more he's sort of active on Israel-Palestine, but in some ways he's a little more passive than some of the other billionaires compared to like Koch brothers and Mercer and his daughter Rebecca.